My name is Dr. Katie Nall. I am a Supreme Commander of my company called Knowledge Company. I'm also honored and privileged to be a board member of United Way of Indian River County. I've been on both sides of the table of United Way. In the early 2000s, I was the executive director of Indian River County Healthy Start Coalition. And at that time, we were looking to become a new funding partner with United Way. That was my initial contact with United Way, and since that time, I've been lucky to be involved in the Citizen Review Committee and now on the board. So the Citizens Review process is a very critically important process where the citizens of Indian River County actually have a say in how the funding of United Way is directed. We look at the financial and structural stability of an organization and also look to see if the money that people bestow to United Way is going to be used in the best possible way, that it's not duplicated, that it is actually used for something that's going to benefit individuals and hence the community. Individuals come together and we have matrices of what we're looking for, and then based on that, we evaluate who gets what money. Now, some years it's really fabulous because there is more money than there is funding. I think that was only about 2 years. But for many of the times, we have to evaluate and make very difficult decisions about which organization is going to get the funding. And many years, for whatever reason, we have to make really difficult decisions. But because it's the citizens that are making those decisions, it actually is a county-wide decision. We've been in Indian River County for more than a few years. We're not natives, but we come pretty close. We moved here on April Fool's Day in 1980. Seen a lot of changes in Indian River County. We have 3 children who all went through the public school system here in Indian River County, grew up, went away. One of them has returned, and cross your fingers, the second one's looking at returning. We have been involved in various nonprofits throughout our time here in Indian River County, not just with United Way, but also with things like Exchange Club and a lot of nonprofits. However, I have to say that United Way of Indian River County has provided the greatest depth and the greatest involvement and understanding of what's going on in the county.
What would you say is the most special part of Indian River that's just so different than anywhere else?
The most special part of Indian River that's different than any place else? Well, of course, we have the beach. We have neighborhoods of very caring people who look around and say, I am comfortable where I am, and I can see that others are struggling, and I want to reach out and help them. And because of those people that we have in Indian River County, we're able to not just build up our county and our neighborhood and families, but also individuals. And having that ability to reach out and help others really makes Indian River County different. So surprisingly, the most current needs right now in 2022 is housing. And because of that, my husband and I are making a commitment to do what we can to help with housing. We're looking at being able to purchase and help out with different rentals. Because people can't get rentals. I'm on other boards and we hire employees to come in, but they don't have a place to live. And you'd think, well, it's only, a certain poverty level, but it is across the board. And so the housing situation obviously is number one. The number 2 challenge that we have in Indian River County is the ALICE population. That population that is just one paycheck away from moving into a financial challenge. I think that we all saw during the pandemic when people were getting stimulus checks that a simple $600 could make such a huge difference. That's why United Way is important. Having that small amount of money can make a huge difference in somebody's life. ALICE stands for Assets Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. So those are the people that are working, and not just one job, but usually more than one. I know when I go to places and I have great service, I always ask somebody, so how many jobs do you have? It's not unusual at all for people to say, well, I have 2 2 or even 3 jobs. I frequently had more than one job to be able to maintain a certain standard of living. To name somebody in Indian River County that's really touched my heart, the first person that came to mind was Alma Lee Loy. When we first came to town in 1980, she had her children's shop right on Route 60, and I walked in with my little stroller infant and my 2-year-old, and she looked me straight in the face and said, "You must be the new person in town." She knew who I was. Her heart really exemplified what United Way was. She was always looking what was in the best interest, not for her individually, but for the county. There are so many stories of people that have been helped by United Way. I know when I was working at Indian River State College, I met so many students who were homeless, so many students whose families were struggling, and to be able to reference them to so many of the different agencies that I was familiar with, I was able to help those people. And that's what we want United Way to do. We want everybody in the county to know that there are people out there willing, ready, and able to help them, but they have to ask for help. And you know what that means? That means they have to stop being a blessings hog. Do you know what a blessings hog is? You may have heard the phrase that it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. If you're giving all the time and not receiving anything, who's getting the blessings? Well, you are. So if you give all the time and don't ever ask for help, that makes you a blessings hog because you're hogging up all the blessings. And so we encourage people to ask for help. Every person who's ever made it anywhere has gotten there because they stopped and asked for help. I've asked for help many times, and all of us have got to ask for help from different people that we think couldn't possibly help us. But just today I was talking to somebody and explaining a difficult situation, and they said, "Oh, I know somebody that could help." I never even thought to ask them or to tell them about it. But it's that sharing and stop being a blessings hog. United Way is very careful about other people's money. I think it's an agency that acknowledges that they're working with gifts and donations that don't belong to them, but instead belongs to the community. And because of that, we have a sort of a guarded responsibility of who gets the money and how much they get, and also to help the organizations be successful. I've been on a number of different committees where we found an organization that is struggling, and United Way has gone in and said, "Look, this is what you need help with, and we're here to help you." I don't think many other agencies will do that, and I'm so proud of United Way for that. My personal life has been a struggle for a long time. I was raised by a single mom way back when there were no other single moms. My mother married and divorced 4 times. My father married and divorced twice. I didn't meet my father until I was 14 years old. I left home in my junior year of high school because things weren't good. At that time, I was in Nebraska, and it was cold. And rather than live at home, I slept under the bushes for a number of weeks. But I knew that education was going to get me to a different place. I mean, I looked around at all the people. We moved a lot when I was growing up. I'd like to say we were in the military, but really we were mostly avoiding bill payers or following husbands, one or the other. I went to 12 different schools in 5 different states. But every time we moved, I'd look around at other people and the other lives they had. And when I saw their other lives, it seemed like the one big difference was the other people had more education. So education I was looking at as a key to move me on to a different place. In my junior year in high school, when I did leave home, I felt like I still have got to stay in school. I've got to get my high school diploma. I had big aspirations that I was going to go on to college and do great things, but I didn't know how I was going to live. I didn't know how I was going to shower. I didn't know what I was going to eat. I went under the bushes for a while. We had just moved into this new town, and a couple of friends from school kind of figured out what was going on. They let me spend the night there a couple nights a week until their parents found out. And then I would hit the road. I was desperate, went to the high school counselor and said, "I don't have a place to live." They connected me to the foster system, and I lived in a foster home for more than a year. I graduated from high school on a Friday night. None of my family attended. I flew out to San Diego, where my father lived, and I met him for the second time. He drove me to another town outside of San Diego, which I get. He was a 40-year-old man with an 18-year-old girl coming to live in a studio apartment. But he drove me to his ex-wife, who had just been released from jail, because she had, it was a hung jury that they didn't know whether or not she had truly hired undercover people to kill my father. And so I was living with her. The whole idea was I was going to go to college there, and I was very excited about going to college. We were in this small town in Southern California, and I looked around, and there's no college in this town. And I asked my dad, where's the college? And it's up the road about 20 miles. Great. Where's my car? There's no car. Well, in Southern California, and especially at that time, there was no transit, there was no bicycle paths, there was nothing. But I knew education was going to be my way out. So I hitchhiked 20 miles one way and 20 miles the other way every day. Many times it was a highway patrol picking me up saying, what are you doing out here? More than once I was in the back of a van thinking, this probably wasn't the best ride I should have accepted. Somehow, some way, I was able to move along and get out of there and meet a fabulous, good-looking sailor who this summer we celebrated our 49th wedding anniversary. He actually was my knight in riding armor. So I know what difficult situations can be like. I also know that things can turn around. They don't turn around unless someone reaches out and helps, and you're not a blessings hog.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else?
I think that's everything.
Okay, good.
You did wonderful.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
that's all. You guys can get a little break, right?
Yes.